They were crossing the Gila from north to south when Ross heard the crack of a rifle and felt the tug of a bullet as it passed by him. He dove for the ground, pulled Rowan down with him to reduce Rowan's sight picture for anyone who might be tempted to shoot his horse. The bullet spanged off the pommel of his saddle and went off into the distance. He thought he had a pretty good idea where the shots were coming from, and took his sharps and his saddlebags and ran away from Rowan. As he ran, a couple of bullets puffed into the sand behind him. He thought the guy, whoever it was, couldn't shoot worth a damn. He found an outcropping of sand and a tree that gave him a little cover, and dove into the shade of the tree as another couple of shots hit the area where he had just been running. He thought whoever it was must have a repeater, a Henry or maybe a new Colt's carbine model with the revolving cylinder on the rifle that held at least 6 .45 caliber bullets. The rifle didn't have the deep-throated sound of the Henry, and nowhere near the enveloping thud of the discharging sharps. Ross hunkered down behind the tree and began to search the terrain ahead and to his left or south facing. The morning sun was still in the east, so shadows were sparse, but anything throwing a shadow would throw it to the west. He could only see one spot where there was any shadow on the side of the mountain. He poked his rifle into position between a couple of branches, which acted as a rest, and aimed for the spot about 3 feet to the left of the far end of the shadow on the hillside. The sharps held a large caliber cartridge, .56, and had been used at one point in the history of the West as a buffalo killer. It was accurate with its long barrel to maybe 500 to 800 yards, depending on the ability of the person firing the rifle. Ross didn't think the shooter could see him any longer, and didn't think the shooter would see the firing of the sharps. Ross slowly began to pull on the trigger, taking in a deep breath now and holding it, allowing a tiny little bit to begin escaping as he continued to pull slowly on the trigger, when all of a sudden the sharps boomed out its throaty roar. The .56 caliber bullet it spit out almost traveled slowly enough to be seen, Ross thought, but not quite. Ross heard a yelp, and then a string of cuss words. He knew right away who it was which had tried to dry gulch him. George Martin's brother apparently had not been so badly hurt by John Rhodes' ministrations to disable him from shooting. Ross heard a, "Shit, you bastard, I'm gonna kill you!" Then he saw Martin stand up and begin to run down the hillside with a 6-gun in both hands, firing first one and then the other. The air in the neighborhood of the tree began to sizzle with bullets passing through. All totaled, Martin fired 12 times, with Ross not returning fire at all. Ross didn't want to waste a bullet. Instead of killing him, he wanted to beat the shit out of Martin. When Martin realized he was out of bullets and stopped running down the hill, Ross had to let one off just to get Martin to stand still. Ross walked up the hill, holding George Martin's Colt .45 pistol in his hand. He thought about George for a moment as he headed toward the brother. He got within a few feet when he said to Martin, "Your brother was a man. You are a coward, you cowplop. This is your brother's gun. I should use it on you now and leave your body for the vultures and the coyotes. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Whether you live or die in the next few minutes is up for grabs. Do you understand clearly, Mr. Martin?"